Good evening and thank you for joining us. Today was day one of the penalty hearing for Thunder Bay Police Staff Sergeant Sean Harrison, who is facing 2 charges of misconduct for his actions during the 2015 Stacey DeBungy death investigation.
Harrison's lawyer, David Butt, recognized his client's wrongdoing in the investigation and is seeking a 1-level demotion for 3 to 6 months, but the other lawyers are recommending harsher penalties. During the hearing, Butt stressed there was a systemic issue within the Thunder Bay Police Service, but that Harrison, seen here on the left, shouldn't be, quote, scapegoated for that. Prosecution counsel Joel Dubois is looking for a harsher punishment, a demotion down to first-class constable with no chance of being a supervisor for at least a year. Dubois said he would have recommended tougher penalties, but noted Harrison had a good track record outside of the DeBungy investigation and can possibly be rehabilitated. DeBungy's family lawyer, Asha James, on the other hand, believes there's only one penalty that's appropriate.
It's no secret that the relationship between the Thunder Bay Police Service and Indigenous people in Thunder Bay is wrought with strife. There's been calls to disband this police service, but accountability happens in steps. The family thinks that the appropriate punishment would be termination, right? And that's what we're going to be seeking.
The second and final day of the penalty hearing is tomorrow, and James is scheduled to make her submissions.
Nipawin OPP are on the scene of a fatal collision at this hour that shut down a portion of Highway 17. The head-on crash involving a tractor-trailer and a cube van happened just after 3 o'clock this afternoon, about 6 kilometers east of Nipawin. OPP say the investigation continues and no further details will be released at this time. There's no word on when the highway will reopen.
A new era has begun at City Hall. The recently elected mayor and council were officially sworn in last evening. The meeting itself was ceremonial with no decisions made, but Mayor Ken Boshkoff delivered his inaugural address. Vasilios Bellos reports.
Both new and experienced councillors all taking their oath of allegiance at the first official city council meeting of the new term. The gathering was mostly ceremonial with no decisions to be made on the agenda. It was a packed council chambers for the meeting, with many coming out to support friends or family on council, or just there to get a look at Thunder Bay's newest governing body. Of course, the meeting saw Mayor Ken Boshkoff provide his inaugural address, in which he spoke of the faith he has in the new council.
I am truly impressed with both the caliber and commitment of our newly elected council, as well as the wisdom and experience of our returnees. I will continuously seek your wisdom and input on the pressing matters before us. If there is anything we heard on the campaign trail, it is that our citizens believe in this city and want it to thrive.
Also during the meeting, in recognition of Thunder Bay being located on the traditional lands of Fort William First Nation, there was a smudge ceremony followed by a hand drum singer. Former Mayor Bill Morrow also attended the meeting, providing some words to the new council. Morrow stressed the importance of local government and the impact it can have on Thunder Bay.
I think it's one of the greatest gifts of being an individual councillor or part of municipal governance and not provincial or federal governments, is that you're not part of a political party. You're all here, at least in my perspective, as 13 individuals. And that is hugely important and a wonderful opportunity for you as you sit around this table, not being part of that political party.
Now that the councillors and mayor have been sworn in, the real work begins. Won't be long before consequential items, including the indoor turf facility and DTR, are on the agenda, not to mention budget season's right around the corner. Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
The Transportation Safety Board has completed its investigation into a fatal plane crash in Sandy Lake First Nation that happened back in May. The report, released today, suggests high water levels may have been a factor in the tragic collision. The pilot, 81-year-old Tom Brotherston, died in the crash. He was the only occupant of the Cessna float plane. The TSB report indicates the aircraft appeared to be well maintained and that weather conditions were favorable at the time. The plane collided with a communications tower before coming down in a wooded area. The report suggests that higher than normal water levels on Sandy Lake may have led Brotherston to try landing closer to the community than usual. That would have moved the flight path closer to the tower.
An Ontario court has struck down a controversial bill that limited the wages of public sector workers. Bill 124 capped wage increases for nurses, teachers, and others. The Ford government says it plans to appeal the decision. Austin Delaney has the details.
Kill that bill! Kill that bill!
And by the end of the day, an Ontario court had killed the bill, which limited most public sector wage hikes to 1%.
Doug Ford, when you go to your local restaurant, do you tip only 1%?
No! Frontline healthcare workers had been rallying outside Sunnybrook Hospital, calling on the government to repeal Bill 124. By afternoon, a judge had ruled it was unconstitutional.
And I'm just coming back from a rally at Sunnybrook over Bill 124. And to get this on my way back to the office, I tell you, we couldn't be more relieved and welcome this decision.
Hospitals in Ontario, like Sunnybrook, where Sharika Washington works in the OR, have been understaffed.
It's overwhelming. There's a lot of people coming in, and we're always working every day. We work short staff some days.
Short-staffed, the union argues, because wages are not competitive enough to retain frontline workers.
It's a strong message to governments to remind them that workers in our country, in Canada, have a constitutional right to negotiate a collective agreement, to bargain their working conditions, and that no government should take away their constitutional right to do that.
The NDP writes in a statement, "My message to Ford is simple. Do not appeal this decision. Bill 124 has wreaked untold damage on our precious public service. Mr. Ford's wage-capping legislation has created staffing crisis in key sectors like education and healthcare, and Ontarians have been paying the price."
The courts have told us what we all already knew, that Doug Ford's Bill 124 was not only unconstitutional, but it was wrong. It restricted people's right to fair bargaining. In particular, it's damaged our relationship with frontline healthcare workers, nurses, who feel disrespected. The government has broken trust.
Back outside Sunnybrook, there was support from drivers passing the noon hour rally.
We deserve a raise. Our contract's been up since January 1st, and they want to give us a 24-cent an hour raise after what we've been through.
Some carrying placards that read, "Calling us heroes doesn't pay our bills."
That was CTV's Austin Delaney. And provincial finances were the focus, or are the focus, of a new report out of Queen's Park. From healthcare to the COVID-19 response, it looks at how the government is spending your money. Siobhan Morris has those details.
Good morning, everybody.
Ontario's budget watchdog says in the first half of this fiscal year, spending was up, but the government spent less than the $84 billion it had planned.
And it spent $80.5 billion, so the actual spending was $3.5 billion less, or 4.1% less than they expected to spend.
Health spending was $859 million below budget. The government spent $500 million less than earmarked for public health, only 11% of the planned COVID-19 response.
It could be that, maybe they over allocated just because they didn't want to be caught short because of the experience of the past few years, but I don't really have a good answer.
The opposition says the underspend shows a government disconnected from reality.
At a time when our pediatric hospitals are over capacity due to an early respiratory season, it is indefensible that public health spending was $500 million less than planned. That is money that could have been spent on a comprehensive, widespread vaccination campaign.
The government stresses it's spending more than ever before.
The largest increase to healthcare spending in this province. The members voted against that. That was shown in the public accounts.
The FAO says one of the areas we've seen a big increase in spending is in servicing Ontario's debt as interest rates rise. It's not something they've had to flag in a while. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
Students from across Thunder Bay and other parts of the Northwest learned the ins and outs of the skilled trades this afternoon. The Level Up Job Fair was hosted by the province to get young people interested in those types of careers. Jess Clement has the details.
From load lifters to excavators to virtual reality simulators, there's a lot to see and do at the Level Up Skilled Trades Career Fair. Hundreds of students from grades 7 to 12 got the chance to speak to professionals in the skilled trades industry and ask any questions they had. There were virtual reality simulators on hand to explore the different jobs and tasks in a safe way. Students also got the chance to try operating heavy machinery and try their hand at welding. Many of the students at the fair were already expressing interest in going in the trades industry.
It's a very good learning experience. I like to do hands-on things, so what I like most about, probably the welding.
Yeah, the welding has to be the best thing here.
I've been laying some really good welds. 96%. I'm an unreal welder, and it's a fun time. It's a good time. I'm learning a lot. I might do welding or something like that. That's what I'll probably do. Yeah.
Dozens of booths were located on site with information about the various trade jobs that the students could go into. Kara Van Elberg is a high school carpentry co-op student who was situated at the carpenter's booth to tell students about her experience in the field.
It's actually super nice to relate to people and just kind of talk to them because other people have other experiences and I have my own as well. So it's really good to just see where they're at and give them my advice and they maybe give me their advice because I'm still deciding what I want to do with the rest of my life as well.
Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program Coordinator Roger Durcher says the shortage of skilled trade workers makes an event like this very important.
We need skilled trades to help develop, help maintain, help provide services. And we all know that they're well-paying career jobs. So we're encouraging students to really consider skilled trades as a viable career option.
The event is for one day only, but Durcher hopes they'll be able to make it bigger and better next year. Jessica Clement, TBT News.
Parents and guardians can get to see in person what the students experienced at the career fair tonight from 7 to 8:30 p.m.
The Thunder Bay Catholic School Board held its first meeting of the term yesterday after election night issues delayed the trustee results until last week. A vote was held during the meeting and Frances Veneroos was re-elected as chair of the board. Dina McFarland retains her spot as vice chair. In a release from the board, both Veneroos and McFarland say they're excited to work with their fellow trustees to continue to make a difference on the Catholic board and in the community.
Thunder Bay Police, OPP, and Anishinaabe Police have officially launched their annual Festive Ride program. The three police forces will be all out looking for impaired drivers this holiday season. Mitchell Ringos has the details.
Keep going, that's good. I was just saying,
According to Thunder Bay Police, impaired driving charges have dropped from 299 in 2020 to 252 in 2021, with 173 charges being laid so far this year before the holiday season has begun. That's 48 fewer than prior to last year's Festive Ride launch, but 67 more people have been charged for driving under the influence of drugs. Acting Traffic Sergeant Sal Carchidi says locals will see an elevated police presence through December, especially around the holidays, as any impaired driving collision or impaired arrest is one too many.
It's a life-changing event to get arrested for impaired driving. Your vehicle's impounded for 7 days, your license is suspended for 90 days. We don't want that to happen to anyone, and we don't want to see any injuries on our local roadways.
On the other hand, the OPP have seen a slight increase this year in Thunder Bay and a whopping increase throughout the Northwest region, where it's grown from 577 impaired charges laid last year to 815 so far this year, 41% increase. Constable Mark Nielsen says these numbers are the reason it's so important to work together.
We all work together in the area, right? Just because there's a City of Thunder Bay or APS or OPP, we all work together to essentially have the common goal, which is protecting the public.
Carchidi says the best advice he has for the public is to plan ahead and have another option to get home, saying even though losing Project Red Nose this year is a big loss, there are other options.
They still have various options, right? There's still public transit, there's still the U-Rides, the ride-sharing apps, or the designated driver program. That's our fallback. That's all we had through the years. Plan a designated driver. It's that one day that you're not consuming alcohol.
And with the holidays just around the corner, Carchidi drove home the fact that everyone has a part in keeping the community safe. Mitchell Ringos, TBT News.
Some big news for local country music fans. The headliners have been announced for the 2023 Country on the Bay Festival at Fort William Historical Park. The four-day concert attracted thousands of fans to the Fort Amphitheatre this past summer. Next year's festival will span 3 days from July 21st to the 23rd. The big-name artists confirmed today are brothers Osborne, Walker Hayes, Dean Brody, and Tennille Towns. The festival lineup also includes the James Barker Band, Tim Hicks, Robin Odolini, Tim and the Glory Boys, Doc Walker, and DJ Johnny Rivix. Weekend passes and VIP tickets go on sale December 6th, and a special pre-sale code is being sent out for returning fans. Country on the Bay is produced by the organizers of Country Fest in Dauphin, Manitoba.
Today is known as Giving Tuesday, and nonprofits big and small are counting on donations coming in today to help fill their coffers. Murillo Mutts is just one of those organizations. The Respite Refuge on Mackey Road in Murillo takes in animals of all kinds when the owner is not able to care for them. Currently, they're taking care of 10 dogs, 4 pot-bellied pigs, and 2 mini horses. Murillo Mutts founder Robin Ratt says they've taken on more than $10,000 in veterinary bills in the last 30 days, something they couldn't afford to do without donors.
If we didn't have the community support, we wouldn't be able to save dogs. This dog right here, Jojo, is a respite dog, which means that when his owner is able, he'll go back to his owner and they'll be reunited. The other thing great about Giving Tuesday or giving any other day is being able to volunteer. Jess has been my volunteer since we started, and we're very, very happy to have her here.
Ratt says people are very generous in Thunder Bay, and donations typically jump on Giving Tuesday and then continue coming in through the holiday season. For anyone who may be struggling to make ends meet, she says donating their time by volunteering is just as valuable.